Good morning. Just ahead of 4:37, turning to farm news now. Yesterday morning, the U.S. House Ag Committee swiftly, about 15 minutes, all it took, to approve a bill that would prevent states from coming up with their own laws requiring the labeling of genetically altered foods. The Safe and Affordable Food Labeling Act was approved on a voice vote in a brief meeting that could be soon on the House floor, like next week. A last-minute change in the law was to ensure that milk could only be certified as non-GMO if the cows are fed non-biotech grain. Our local livestock stewardship specialist weighs in again on the problem with using the term genetically modified.
It defines what they're doing, but it sends the wrong message, I think, to many people. So many people have gotten the wrong impressions of GMO, that somehow it's frankenfoods and we're feeding frankenfoods to create franken cattle or livestock. And yet the evidence on the other side that somehow there's a problem with GMO foods and crops and meat products that have come from livestock-fed GMOs is really non-existent. There just isn't any. If you think about it, over the years when we've had GMO crops in the ground and how many, literally trillions of meals fed to human beings and animals, if there was a problem, I would think we could come up with something. Now, and I know there's still people that are skeptical, and I'm a skeptic myself. I need to know the truth. And yet the evidence to date just doesn't indicate that there's any issues with this GMO.
Now, the latest draft of the bill would require the Food and Drug Administration to write definitions for what foods can be labeled as natural. Senator John Hoeven has been preparing a companion Senate bill, but supporters have struggled to find a Democratic co-sponsor. Well, at this stage of crop development in the middle of the summer, farmers closely watching their crops for signs of stress or disease. In soybeans, the word is no news is good news.
You know, in general, we got to keep in perspective, we're talking about soybeans. In general, we have a pretty healthy crop here. You know, we always have some diseases out there. We don't have a lot of foliar problems. We have some foliar diseases, and they can look bad in the field, but in general, we haven't seen yield losses from that. And so from the standpoint of foliar diseases, we don't consider them at the present time to be too serious. They can visually make you think they're a problem, but in general, we have not seen yield losses from those. So that's a good. But the root problems are the things that we have to pay attention to.
Dr. Nelson says the root rots and other diseases all below ground, and the only way of determining if you have a problem is to dig up a few plants and take a look at the roots. The Environmental Protection Agency faces yet another lawsuit over their Waters of the U.S. proposed rule. 5 business organizations, including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, have joined the pushback on the WOTUS, or Waters of the U.S. rule. Groups say the rule made by the Army Corps of Engineers and the U.S. EPA, quote, would dramatically expand the areas regulated under the Clean Water Act. So they filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma, July 10th. Time now for Stewardship Wednesday, staying ahead of the curve in animal care. You may have seen this story before, but as we've been talking about 4 months, changes are coming to how U.S. livestock producers medicate sick animals. It's called the Veterinary Feed Directive, and at the end of next year will require a prescription from your veterinarian for any medication given to livestock. That includes medicated feed. Calf milk replacer even. Now, for most producers in the U.S., it will be something new, but it's not for Northern California's animal agriculture industry. They are under a state law forbidding over-the-counter medicine in animal feed.
So livestock producers inside California, inside the Central Valley, are the most highly regulated commodities inside the United States.
Payne specializes in livestock pharmaceuticals and is closely watching a new proposal that could ban California farmers from using over-the-counter antibiotics in livestock and poultry. Prescription-only antibiotics would become law as a way to reduce resistance to the antibiotics in people.
It doesn't matter where or how you use antibiotics. If you use them in children, if you use them in pets, if you use them inside livestock, you're going to be promoting some sort of resistance.
It's that old adage, you are what you eat. And new studies show overuse of antibiotics on the farm may be going onto store shelves and onto our dinner plates.
You know, this is a global problem. and we have to solve the problem to make it work.
State Senator Jerry Hill wrote the bill banning over-the-counter antibiotics on farms.
I think people are realizing, especially when you look at the numbers, when you look at 23,000 people, that's 23,000 deaths from antibiotic-resistant bacteria, that there's nothing that could be done. We know we need to do something.
There seems to be a misconception by the public, and it seems in media too, that livestock producers pour the antibiotics and hormones into animals in order to make them grow faster and bigger. But the truth is,
there are designated certain supply chains. Sometimes we use the term natural, sometimes it's called organic. And those natural supply chains, they'll be designated as antibiotic-free, never given antibiotics, or maybe never given an antibiotic in the last 120 days, or they're designated hormone-free. The reality is it is a marketing gimmick. All foods have hormones in them, okay? No foods have antibiotics into them unless some horrific mistake was made.
now the use of medicated feed will require a prescription from a veterinarian that is expected to start in January 2017. That's our Stewardship Wednesday and our farm news for this morning. Right after the break, we're going to check the pop-up rain and thunder showers in Becker and Clay County, northern Ottertail County, and see what kind of forecast we have for farming today here in the valley.